Okay. Ryan's Thoughts on Cars. Just came back from the gym. And I've been trying actually, so this is kind of a YouTube thing, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to talk about the YouTube and the YouTube channel thing, because I don't really talk about it on this. I have a microphone and stuff that used to hook up to the phone so that I could, I don't know, give better audio, because I was doing it like how it is right now, how you're listening to it. Just the phone microphone that's on the camera or on the phone. But I was getting all kinds of noise from the car. And I was given a microphone, which is pretty cool. So I plug a receiver into the iPhone jack. And then there's a microphone I've been clipping. You've seen it in other videos if you've been watching, that I clip to my thing and turn it on, and it Bluetooth to the receiver, and it all works seamlessly. It wasn't a super high quality mic or anything, but it did a lot better than the phone thing, because right now we're going to get road noise, which, looking back on the videos and watching, is really distracting. So audio, I found, is a big deal. Now, my iPhone had an update a few weeks ago, and at the same time I was getting updates on the car through. So I've been having, so every time there's an update, either with the car or with the phone, I was always getting some sort of weird, the microphone would stop working for weird reasons, or wouldn't work at all. Sometimes it was how I hooked up the microphone and started a video, and then how I would go back and watch it to make sure the audio is working, and then when I would try to do it again without reinstalling everything, it would stop working. Like when I first got the microphone, I just plugged it all in and it worked seamlessly. The car didn't interfere with it, and the phone didn't interfere with it. So, like right now, we're getting probably a ton of wind noise, right? Now, my car here does get a lot of interior noise for what it is, which is good because it makes driving fun, but it makes the audio terrible. Especially if you're listening to this in your car and you got a really good sound system or something. So I do in mine, and when I watch these videos back like this, and there's the wind noise and stuff, like all of the bass and all of the tires going, like those bumps, it really is amplified, and you can hear it really well. Like the microphone is really good on this phone. It picks up everything. And yeah, so I don't know, like this, every time there's an update, either with the car, like the car would interfere, and I would have to relearn how to plug in the microphone and get it to turn on. Now, this last batch of updates happened at the same time. I got an iPhone update and I got a Uconnect update, and I thought it was the car because the receiver has a charge port on it to keep the phone charged while I'm using the microphone, and all of it worked seamlessly now. But I thought, okay, well, that was interfering, so I left that all off, and I was using the microphone a couple of times where I thought the microphone was working, but it wasn't until I watched, further further into the video that I had made, where I found that, you know, a bunch of car noise. I was like, oh, the microphone's not working. So I've been trying to figure out how to get the microphone to work, and it's not actually even recognizing it anymore. I hate technology. That's what technology is teaching me throughout my lifetime here. At the beginning, I was being sold this idea that it makes life better, and I guess it kind of did. You know, it did open new avenues, but really, it's really just complicated stuff. Now, there's two things that happened with this update that I'm really pissed about. So the car updates removed features I liked and gave me a bunch of stuff that I don't want, don't need, and never going to use, and has actually, in my eyes, devalued the car. The update with the phone, it was working just fine, and then I got this update, a bunch of things changed on it, and now I can't use my microphone. I just tried to see if it's because like I wear a sensor, a glucose monitoring system, right? A Freestyle. And like I remember we were doing a road trip with my daughter, and I was trying to connect two sets of Bluetooth headphones to my phone so that we could watch a movie. And it wouldn't accept two pairs, so it wouldn't take two Bluetooth devices. So when I was using the microphone for the first time, I thought, oh, this might be a problem, but it wasn't. It did the sensor and it did the microphone on its own. So this time I'm wondering if the update somehow is just would only let one device be Bluetooth. And I just tried that, and no. It updated itself so that whatever software that this microphone uses to access the phone has just made it obsolete. And I don't like it. I think it's stupid. This is not making my life better in any way. I went for years without a cell phone. They were the original phone, the original cell phones, I guess you could say. But it was at the time when the iPhone was out, the smartphones were out, and I did not want anything to do with them. Mostly because the phone itself, I'm going to park in the shade. The phone itself, I viewed, because I grew up with cell phones. When cell phones first came out, we had them. We had a family business and we used them all the time. And they were for phone calls, and they were for people getting in touch with you. And for you to, I don't know, people to get in contact with you, to stay connected, sort of thing. And we still had landlines at the time, no, and it was easy enough to just say, hey, phone me at home and leave a message on the machine, and I'll get to you when I get to you, right? But there were times when you really did need, in a kind of you were in a crunch or something, and you needed to get a hold of somebody or something to get something to work, right? We needed materials or something along those lines. Then it became everybody had a cell phone. But even then, I would never answer it. I would never answer a cell phone. The cell phone for me was for me to get in contact with people. It wasn't so that people could get in contact with me. And I remember my mom giving us cell phones and going, this is for your safety, right? If you're ever in a spot of trouble or whatever, you can call out, sort of thing. And I was like, it sounds, it makes sense kind of thing. In practicality, it doesn't really work. Only because at the time there were payphones everywhere. Then I slowly watched the payphones go away. And then it became paramount for me to actually carry a cell phone all the time. If I needed a ride home, or I needed to get in contact with somebody to pick me up or to let them know something was going on, that kind of thing. But in a real, safety situation where you're in trouble, like, the phone was never, the phone never worked. The phone never worked. Now that they are computers to run our lives, I don't know. I fought at my last job because they wanted me to be using my personal email and my personal phone number so they could contact me at any time. And on the other end of that, like, they did provide, email access and stuff like that. Now, I worked at the same place, but in a different unit. In the unit that I was working for before, they made sure that we had company cell phones. So if they wanted to contact us and it was about work, that it was done on a work phone, right? Some guys preferred to use their own personal thing. Like, I worked with a guy and he preferred that. It was just easier for him, which is fine, But my argument for that was always, if you want me to do work things on my person, then I have to be compensated for that. This is not part of the job. That's not what I signed a contract for, right? And if I want to waive that, that's fine. But I am not going to waive that, sort of thing. If you want, then you provide me with a phone. And they did. And it wasn't even a question, right? They forced us to go out and get work phones because it was a federal government. It all had to be on a secure network, and they, a lot of the information, it's highly protected stuff. It was, it's your personal information. It's their information. Really, it's for their end, right? It's to protect the federal government stuff. And they really, really pushed for us to have the work phones. And I was so happy. I was happy about that. I was so happy about that. Then I switched units and I worked for this other unit, and everybody gave up. Everybody waived the right to, the work phone. They all wanted it done on their personal stuff, right? And I was the oddity. Saying, well, no, if it's about work, you contact me through my work email. If you want to phone call me and it's about work, then pay me for it. Right? I mean, if I'm not at work and I'm home, it would be the same as having a landline, right? So you phone my home phone number and then you catch me and I'll call you back. You want me to come into work early, whatever it is, however that works, yeah, that's normal stuff, right? But while I'm at work and you're trying to contact me through my phone and you want me to do work things but while using my personal phone, then I just said, hey, compensate me for it. Like, I'm not doing work on my personal phone. I am not going to do that. I drew a line. And oh man, did they hate that. Holy shit. And I just switched units. I was working for the same federal government. I was working in the same military base. I was working, for the same military, for crying out loud. And from one unit going, no, pushing these things on us, to, no, now we need to contact you at all hours and this and that, and it has to be done through your personal cell phone. And we're going to do it during work hours, and we're going to do it after work hours, and we're going to do it, whenever. We need you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to be available. And I'm like, well, then sure, give me a work phone. They're like, well, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, they're handing them out. I know the building. I've had work phones before. I've been working on this base for the past 10 years, and I've never had a problem like this. Why is it a problem now? Like, how come you guys don't want to do this? Well, okay. We'll just contact you through your work email and da 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 da. And I said, okay, fine, right? Now the thing was, is that when I had the work phone, our work emails, they could be synced to that phone. So I could actually read, and go through work emails when I had at home. I did it through COVID. We were construction, we were building maintenance people, and we actually got to work from home, which was kind of cool and funny. But we had to have our phones with us all the time. So we would work a week and then take a week off, work a week, take a week off, work a week, take a week off, and we'd cycle through people in order to get work done, which was almost impossible to do. It was really difficult. But that aside, so these people, so the new unit I was working for, and we'll contact through work emails and stuff like that, right? And then they would send me emails and be like, how come you didn't read our email? And I'm like, what do you mean? I was at home. The only way I can access my work emails is through the work computer in that one room that everybody tries to use, that I can never get on, right? Well, you can use the other one in the other office and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, you're making this, I don't know, you're forcing me to make this an impossible situation. So you want me to run around the building and find a computer, and then when I'm running around the building finding a computer to work on, I got people going, hey, where's Ryan? How come he's not doing his job? And then I come back saying, I'm on the work computer. Well, you're not doing your job. And I'm like, okay, well, this is retarded. This is now a toxic, retarded work situation. You guys have your heads up your ass. I don't know what the fuck is going on here, but you're fucking stupid. So yeah, it got to a point where I'm trying, so I don't know what it was with the computers and computer clearance. What I do know is that they had nobody do this to them before. And if they did have somebody do this before, they didn't last long enough. Because I had no problems in my other unit for 10 years. The computers were updated, we had access, we had security clearances, the whole thing. And when somebody sent an encrypted email or something like that, because they all are, if it comes from any kind of officer, the email is encrypted. Doesn't matter what's in it, it's always encrypted. And the computer that I was working on at this new unit wouldn't open these. I couldn't read these fucking things, and I couldn't reply to them, right? And then I would get shit. I'd have somebody come in and say, hey, how come you haven't read the email? I said, I read the email. Well, I opened it, but I can't read it. And they're like, well, why can't you read it? And I said, well, it's encrypted. The computer's not letting me read it. And then it took them a month to figure out, trying to make it my problem. Like, I'm a computer retard, right? That I can't read encrypted emails on a computer that hasn't given me access to read encrypted emails, right? And we'll try this. And I go in and I try it. And nothing. And I'm like, well, this fucking, like, you guys, you want me to do this stuff, and I go to do this stuff, and I can't do it because you guys haven't done your stuff, right? Like, I'm trying to do this, right? And they're like, well, your problem. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm forcing you guys to do your job. I am a problem. I'm doing my job. I'm doing everything you're asking of me, and I'm the problem. Yeah, okay. I know where this is going. So from then on, that was it. No more benefit of the doubt, no more leeway, no more anything, right? This is technology, right? And they didn't want to deal with it. They didn't want to deal with the technology. And I said, look, and I said this several times. I'm like, look, this is easy. This is easy to solve. If you want me to read all these emails and stuff like that, and you want me to do it after hours, and you want me to do it, all of this, I've done it before the last 10 years. I'm on the list. They know me. I know the guys. I've been in and out of there for phones, because every contract I turn it in, every contract I take it back, right? Just send me down there, give me a phone. This will all be, it's no extra cost to you. There's a wall of phones in that office, I said. It's not like they're hard to get. Well, we don't do that here, and we don't and we prefer that, you know, you use your personal, and everybody here does their personal, and everybody does the personal. And I'm like, so you're forcing me to use my personal. Well, your phone is free. And I said, it's not free. I pay for it. Are you paying for it? You're not paying for it. Phone calls are not free. I'm paying $100 and whatever a month for this. Is Canada, by the way. Cell phones are incredibly expensive here. I think the most expensive in the world. Trying to tell me that it's, you know, it's free, and I'm like, you're stupid. It's not free. I'm paying for it. Are you paying for it? You start paying for it. My crappy wage here that you're trying to pay me and do all this stuff for free? No. I'm a problem because, I don't know, I have a standard of a work ethic, I guess. I'm not a pushover. I'm not a, you know, beaten dog. I'm not a fucking floor mat, which is obviously what you want. And you don't know how to deal with people who are not doormats, I guess. I actually had one time, they were trying to get me to do this thing, ridiculous thing. And this was the problem. Like, I can't read the emails. And then I would try to reply to the emails. And then I couldn't reply to the emails because I didn't have security clearance on the computer to answer these emails. And I'm like, okay, this is now stupid, right? Like, they're really trying to force me to send a personal email. So what I actually did, in the very, very beginning, when this really started to become a problem, as soon as there was friction, I sent a personal email. Because what had happened was, one of my supervisors, not my direct supervisor, but she was kind of covering for the other guy because he was off, gave out my personal email to a list of people, saying, you know, something about Ryan isn't answering, you know, how come you're not answering these emails? And then she CC'd like a long list of people, all the higher ups, right? HR, the lieutenant, the fucking, was he a commander? No. Was he? It's a naval, so the guy where I was working, the other unit I was working in was military. They were Army, and this unit was naval. So I don't know. I think he was lieutenant commander or commander. It was something like that. And he, you know, he was on the list and the whole thing, right? And she sent that email to me. And I saw the list of people on it, and boom, I was like, fuck this. I said, okay, this was, you know, for personal, for you to get me to come into work or to not come into work. This is not for business work purposes, and and if you want to be using it, Now I also, you know, if you want to be using this for, then I want to be compensated for it. And there was perfectly good working work email on a work computer for me to be using, and that's how this should be working, right? This email was not intended. This was for getting the job, or for you to contact me when you can't get a hold of me by my phone, when I'm not at work. This isn't for work purposes, right? If you want work related, it goes to my work email. And now I'm actually going to tell you not to use this email ever again. I've already contacted my lawyer and apprised them of the situation, that you're trying to get me to use my personal, you know, my personal contact information for work purposes, right? When there's perfectly good, you know, available work resources to be doing that with. And that was hilarious because that I CC'd, the whole list. I replied to reply all, right? And it's kind of funny because all the guys that were encrypted the email was rejected because it was a personal email. It wasn't on the system, right? Then I had, I was working, and I wasn't sitting there checking my work emails, right? I was actually doing work at work, and I had this lady, I had my supervisor comes, hey, did you read that email? And I'm like, what email? She goes, I sent you an email. And I'm like, I'm working. I'm not checking the computer for emails. She goes, well, you check your information, check your emails. So I had to wait till the fucking computer was free. Went in, checked my emails, and it was some lady saying something about, we need your signature on this piece of paper or something like that. We need you to do this and agree to this. Otherwise, we're going to fire you, basically, right? So I read it. I just read it, and then I went back out, and I'm like, okay, I gotta, I am gonna do it. They were trying to force me to go for a medical clearance because I'm a type 1 diabetic, and they wanted me to go to my doctor, and it was just a harassment tactic. They wanted me to go to my doctor, and even my doctor was saying, like, this is ridiculous. Why are they getting, can he use a knife? Can he, this, that, and the other thing on this piece of paper? And I was like, this is stupid. I had set up an appointment for it. I had the whole thing to go and do this with the doctor. I faxed it to her already, and I talked with her over the phone. And I had set it up, and I was ready to go and stuff like that. Then I had the lady, my boss's boss in HR, I think but she was kind of like before it gets to the big guy, before it gets to the lieutenant commander, and he's got to like step in and smash some faces. She came down with a military guy, with an army guy. He was wearing the relish as a bodyguard, as a heavy. It came to where I was standing at the till sort of thing. I was kind of getting ready. She's like, oh, did you get the email? And I'm like, what's all this about? I said, yeah, I just read the email, and I don't know why you're saying all of this, right? Like, because I said, I booked it, I'm going to go do it, right? Like, I'm doing everything you're asking. And you're pushing this like to ridiculous extremes here. I said, yeah, I'm going to go do it. I'm laughing in her fucking face. Well, we need you to, and I said, yeah, I'm doing it. I made an appointment to see the doctor, and I'm doing this, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, why are you making this such a big fucking deal? It's just their way of saying they didn't want me, right? But it was full on military. Get rid of this guy or make his life impossible, and force him out of this, right? And everybody knew it, and it was all done within HR. They used HR against, to force, I did write it all down. I did send it into a lawyer for the human rights thing, and he's got this long pile of things for a class action thing against the federal government, and it's just sitting there waiting. But it's like, yeah, you got a case for this. It's like, yeah, of course I do. Like, this is ridiculous. And I was being harassed by my employers, right? And they were doing it, they were making sure to do it by their law, by their rules, by their, how it's supposed to be done ethically and all of this stuff, right? But it was a constant bombardment of this. And the best thing about it was that, the technology was creating this problem. And I'm not a tech idiot. I'm not anything like that. I don't like to use it anymore so much because it creates more problems than it's worth, sort of thing. And I think that's the moral of that story, right? I don't know. Tell me about your technology. Like, I don't know. It's not gotten better. The technology is getting better, but it's not making life more easy. It's making it far more complicated, and it's making it, instead of doing something once, now we have to do it in triplicate, quadruplicate, and you got to answer not just to one person anymore. You got to answer to like 20 people, and it's, you know, you spend more time using the technology than back in the day when it would take a phone call, or you'd write a letter, you know, even one email, you know, or fill it. You would get a phone call, you would get a form, and then you would send it back, and that would be it. You wouldn't have to be addressing this like 40, 50, 60, 70, 800 or 800 times to 800 is a bit excessive, but I mean 100 times, you know, referring to this form to several people, so that, because nobody's technology is on the same. They were sending me, this was the other thing too, they were sending me Word files and PDFs, like fillable PDFs. So if at home, if you don't subscribe to Adobe Acrobat and you don't buy a license from Microsoft, right, there's no way you can read these, and there's no way you can fill them out and send them back. You know, technology is fine. I said, then fine, send it to my work email. It has it all on there, and I'll go do it there. And then they were sending me this stuff while I was on vacation. That was another thing. They were sending me all this stuff into my work email while I was on vacation. They knew I was on vacation. They knew I had time off, right? And they were sending me this time-sensitive stuff while I was away, knowing that I wasn't going to be using the computer, right? I actually had the job steward, because he was one of the people that was CC'd in this great big long list of people. He texted me while I was on vacation, while I was on time off, and it was booked, it was cleared, it was okay, my time off. Like, I didn't just disappear. I had made it a big thing. Like, I'm taking this amount of time off, and these are all the days. I mean, and then it all got cleared. And then they sent me this super time sensitive stuff that I had to answer within a couple of days. It was the lieutenant commander actually sent it to me. He's like, hey, there's a time sensitive email here from the commander that you might want to look at, right? So I actually ran into work one morning, jumped on the computer, read it, laughed at it. And that's when the whole thing kind of started, where I couldn't reply to encrypted emails. So I tried to send him a reply. I couldn't send a reply. It was rejected. I'm like, okay, well, this is dumb. I just let him know. I sent a text, and I couldn't send because it's encrypted, and for whatever reason, my profile on this computer isn't allowed access to answer him, right? So whatever. I actually don't care anymore, you know. Tell him to go fuck himself. Is what I was thinking. I didn't write that down, right? Well, I'm like, I don't give a shit anymore, you know. You guys are running a retarded ship. And yeah, they had trouble keeping people. I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. That workplace environment was not for me. It helped me do what I needed to do for the little bit of time that I was there, and I was done. Okay. Yeah, I guess this turned into a weird job thing, you know, toxic job thing. But you know, the funny thing is that and I said that in these emails. I said, I've been working on this base for like 10 years. How come all of a sudden, you know, I'm having all these weird, strange problems when I'm working for you guys at this unit? Like, none of this was ever a problem before. I've been working, I've been using, you know, work emails, work phones, encrypted, classifications, I'm talking, you know, security clearances. I've had no problems with any of this the entire time I've been working at this base since, you know, 2011 or whatever it was, right? Now, how come all of a sudden in 2020, 2021, no, sorry, it would have been 2022 and 2023. So I worked there in that unit for a year. So how come all of a sudden, like, this is a really big problem? Like, I can't get access to anything, I can't answer emails, and all of this, and all of a sudden, all these problems are happening. This is very strange. I wrote that in emails a couple of times. It was fucking, you know, nobody would answer it. Nobody would answer it because, you know, they're playing some weird game that they don't want to be called out on, right? And I was calling them out on it, and then they had to get rid of me, and that's when they started forcing this issue, and that's when, because I don't just do what I'm told. Yeah, of course, some circumstances I'll do that, there's whatever, but when it comes to certain things about my personal value, I guess you call it, but like, I just don't bow down. I'll give the benefit of the doubt for a while, and then it starts to being used. It's a hard no, right? Like, no, this is inappropriate. You're asking too much. I let it go for a little bit, and I think I learned in that situation that not to give the benefit of the doubt anymore. When something comes up, nail it to the wall right away. Nail it to the wall right away. Say no. Well, I used to think workplace was somewhere you found somewhere you should feel safe, somewhere you should feel accepted, sort of thing, somewhere where you could just do your job and get a paycheck and go home and live a life outside of work, right? And increasingly throughout my years, I found that that's not the case, right? For the most part, most workplaces, they want that to be your life, and they don't want to pay for it, right? They want to get as much out of you as possible. And then they'll turn around and say, we have a good work-life balance. We want to make you feel accepted. We want this and that. We want to make sure you feel safe and secure and comfortable. And they put this veneer over it. And then underneath that, there's this culture of do what you're told or you're not going to be around here. And when you do what you're told, they abuse it. They really do, right? Anywho, that's it. Time to go. See you on the next one.